gluten-free baking buddies. Today we're whipping up something pumpkin-licious, gluten-free pumpkin bread. Hey guys, it's Kaylee. It's officially fall, so you know what that means. We're going to make a gluten-free pumpkin bread today. It's not just any pumpkin bread. We're going to be doing a battle of the breads. So I'm going to take Bob's Red Mill gluten-free 1-to-1 flour, and I'm going to take Krusteaz gluten-free flour, and we're going to see which pumpkin bread turns out better. For the recipe, I'm going to be using my homemade gluten-free pumpkin bread recipe, and the only thing I'm going to switch is the flour. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I hope you'll stick around to see which pumpkin bread turns out better. Okay, so for this recipe, I'm going to be using this canned pumpkin. And in the first bread, this is a 1-to-1 gluten-free flour, Krusteaz. It has sorghum flour, brown rice flour, whole grain millet flour, rice flour, and quinoa flour. So this is the first one. Overall, I think this one is going to turn out pretty good. I've tried this in other recipes in the past, and it's always been a pretty good one. And I have not yet tried the Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking flour, but I have heard that it is very good and that it provides really good results. So I'm excited to see about it today. Again, it's a 1-to-1 baking flour, which means you can replace this flour and this flour with any regular flour containing recipe, and it should turn out basically the same. And it's cup for cup, so you don't need to do any extra substitutions. And one thing I love is that you don't need to worry about xanthan gum, because these both already have the xanthan gum in them. This one is sweet white rice flour, whole grain brown rice flour, potato starch, sorghum flour, and tapioca flour. I'm excited to see the difference between the two and see which one's better. Here are the ingredients I'll be using. Feel free to pause and screenshot this screen so you can follow along. The recipe is in the description. Let's get this party started with Bob's Red Mill gluten-free 1-to-1 baking flour. I'll be baking this loaf in my teal pan and the Krusteaz one in a gray pan. That way I easily know which is which. We're going to start by pouring the canned pumpkin into a large bowl. Then add your baking powder, baking soda, and some salt. Mix it up. I'm using a handheld mixer, but you can use whatever you like. Next, add your white sugar and brown sugar. Add in some vanilla and always measure it with your heart. Mix it up again. It smells so sweet. Mix it up until it gets to about this consistency. Now add in your oil and your eggs. You can use whatever type of oil you want. I'm using vegetable oil for this one. Never gonna guess the next step. Mix it up. Now you're going to sprinkle in some cinnamon and pumpkin pie spice. If you don't have pumpkin pie spice, don't worry. It's basically just nutmeg, cloves, and cinnamon. Here comes the fun part, our first flour. Bob's Red Mill gluten-free 1-to-1 baking flour. I'm so excited to test this since I've heard really good things about it. Now it's time to see for myself. Add in your gluten-free flour of choice. If it doesn't have xanthan gum in it already, add in 1/4 teaspoon. Make sure you check to see if there's xanthan gum or not before you add it. It could make it too crumbly or too gummy depending on if it has it or not, and you don't want that. Luckily, this Bob's Red Mill one already has just the perfect amount of xanthan gum I need, so I don't need to worry about it. Mix, mix, mix. I taste tested the batter and it is so good. It's very sweet and smooth and doesn't feel grainy at all. This bodes well for the competition. Let's give this batter a cozy home. Into the loaf pan it goes. Here it is. Look how beautiful. Now on to the next loaf, Krusteaz flour. For this one, I followed the exact same recipe, so I'm going to speed up the video a bit. I'm using the gray pan, that way I can easily differentiate between the two loaves. Let's talk a bit about some things I'm noticing about the two flours. Bob's Red Mill is so pale and smooth. It almost feels like silk, and it smells so sweet. Krusteaz, on the other hand, is still light but a bit thicker. It has a more ricey smell, and it's not quite as sweet. Krusteaz is also 1-to-1, so I don't need to worry about xanthan gum here either. Here they are in their pans, side by side. Remember, the Bob's Red Mill one is the teal pan, and the Krusteaz one is the gray pan. I don't know if you can see it, but the Krusteaz one is a little thicker. See how thick that one is? Compared with that, the Bob's Red Mill is a little more glossy. Now I'm going to pop them in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 50 to 60 minutes, and I'll check back later. Here they are, they're done. Okay, so I just pulled them out of the oven. Here's the Bob's Red Mill one. It is a little bit softer on the top, which I like. Look at that beautiful crack right there. That is a good loaf of bread. Here's the Krusteaz one. It's a slightly different color. I don't know if you guys can tell, but the Bob's Red Mill is a little bit of a deeper orange, and this is a more like pale tan. And it is crunchier. It has like a nice crunchy top. So I'm gonna let them cool for a little bit, and then we'll do the taste test. Okay, so this is the Bob's Red Mill, and this is the Krusteaz one. It has a bit of a crunchier top. This one is more dense and fluffy. I'm gonna try them now and let you know what I think. So up first, let's try the Krusteaz one. It's pretty good. It's definitely not as sweet, and it's a little harder, like a little crunchier, but it's still pretty good. Now let's try the Bob's Red Mill. Oh. That is really good. It's really chewy and moist. Like it doesn't even taste gluten-free. That is amazing. Drumroll please, the winner of this gluten-free pumpkin bread showdown is Bob's Red Mill. But hey, they both turned out amazing. It's all about personal preference. As always, I'm here to make your gluten-free life a little sweeter. And what's more folly than pumpkin bread? I challenge you to try both recipes and let me know which one you love more. Remember to like, subscribe, and share your results in the comments. Thanks for baking with me. See you next time.